Hi, and welcome back. Today I want to talk about an epiphany that I have just had, with regards to sound. But in thinking about it, I've actually had this epiphany 3 times in 3 different subject matters. And the epiphany is basically if it's good and it works, it's good. And so where does this, the first time I had this epiphany, if you would call it that, is back when I was in school and I was learning to program. And like most student programmers, I was never or wasn't especially comfortable sharing my code with people. I mean, I could turn in a project or whatever, but like I didn't want to help people or share how I did something, not from some I want to protect my secrets kind of thing, but just because I didn't have confidence that I was doing it right. And it took a while, but I eventually came to realize that doing, at least like within programming, because you can test an objective, like if the output is what the output's supposed to be, then the program did the right thing. It took me a little while, but I came to realize that if it produces the right output, it's right. And I sort of say that within the context of, well, it could be more, there's potentially room for optimization or there's potentially room for other things, but at the level of a student programmer, right is it works. Like, if it works, it's right. If it doesn't produce errors, if it compiles, if it doesn't crash, it's right. And when I realized that, I became a lot more confident in helping my peers in terms of, just being able to, try this or show them what I did because it worked. And you couldn't really criticize, I didn't have to worry about criticism because it worked. And nobody was at that level was going to criticize me for producing something that wasn't, the output of a master programmer that's working at Google or something level. This is high school programming class. The second time I had this epiphany was with still photography. For a long time, I was doing the dance that seems so common now in struggling to, oh, I need a better camera. Oh, I need a better this. Oh, I need a better that. And not realizing that if I like the picture, that's all that really matters. Now, from a photography standpoint, or in this case, an audio recording standpoint, as I get to eventually, or in a little bit, it's not a hard answer. There isn't a hard, I did this right, objective measure. It's a creative endeavor. And being a creative endeavor, it's subject to how people are interpreting it. I can have a picture that I took that I think's absolutely fantastic, and then I can show it to somebody and they could think it's absolute garbage. And while there's certainly technical aspects involved that can make or break a picture, things like, is it in focus? Is it motion blurred or camera shake blurred or whatever? Especially when those things are not being done to deliberately, being done deliberately, you run into this, like, as a creative, and I think, and I've seen this come up by a lot of other creatives, but you run into this idea of you're not really confident in showing or talking about your work because you don't feel you have the authority and you can't hide behind that when somebody criticizes it. And it took me a long time with photography to get to a point where I basically said, no, I like the picture, that's the picture. And, I was even thinking about as I was thinking about this talk or this blog, I was even thinking about, I've been in situations where I've shown a fellow photographer a picture and they've said, well, I would have done this or I would have done that. And it was like, that was you, not me. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, because maybe they would have done something that would have made the picture better. And it's something that I should think about doing in the future, potentially, to make a picture better. But it's not what I was doing with that picture. And like I said, if you don't have the confidence in you're doing things right, how do you, like, you can't hide behind that, or hide behind the confidence to say, well, this is what I wanted and this is what I got. And I ran into this with photography for, all kinds of things. I ran into this with processing in Lightroom. I ran into this with lenses. I ran into this with camera technique. I ran into this, like, pretty much everywhere. That, should I be using a better camera? Is there a better camera for this? Am I using the right lens? Which, am I stopping down enough or not enough? Or, whatever. And eventually, and for me, it took maybe 5 or 6 years before I kind of realized, and I think part of this was from experience, that if I like the picture, if the picture looks good, the picture is good. Now, again, somebody might not like the picture, but there's no objective, you did the processing the right way, or you composed it the right way, or you took a picture of the right subject. So the only thing that's really there is, if you like the picture is good. And I ran into this same thought process with audio recording. We changed out our air conditioner because it died. And our new air conditioner is a bit louder. And that's prompted me to look at how I'm recording the setup and these vlogs. And in a previous vlog, I said that I'm recording with a Rode NTG2 microphone and a Tascam DR60D audio recorder. And that this isn't the only way to record it, but this is what I sort of jumped to. I certainly didn't arrive at it through any kind of deliberate process. And with the increased noise floor due to the new air conditioner, I was thinking about moving to a lapel mic from a boomed shotgun mic. And in doing a lot of research too, I realized that, or I've found that shotgun mics are not recommended for interior dialogue because of the reflections that they pick up and the way the tube cancels sound, and it can cause issues in small rooms with the sound just doesn't sound right. And, one of the things that I've struggled with when I was doing a podcast and when I was even doing these vlogs is getting the sound of my voice to sound right. I know I'm not the only person who doesn't really like to listen to a recording of themselves. And I've had a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people talk about why this is, but for me, I think what it comes down to is when I'm speaking, I don't hear the sound coming out of my mouth. I hear the sound I hear that partially, but I also hear the sound that reverberates through my body. And so in my head, in my own voice, I have a warmer, richer, deeper voice than what gets recorded. And I struggled with this a lot because I couldn't get a recording I liked, change mics, do this, do that. And so the other day when I was going through, I have 3 what I would consider acceptable quality mics. As I said, the Rode NTG2 that's mic'd in over my head. I have a Rode VideoMic Pro, and I have a Rode SmartLav Plus. I'm apparently a big fan of Rode, although I never really arrived at that deliberately. And so I decided, well, I can set up my recorder to record from all 3 sources simultaneously, and I can listen to them, and I could see which one I like. And I did this. And, when I sat down and I started listening to it, I went, originally, or my first reaction was, boy, I like the results of my VideoMic Pro better than I like the results of my VideoMic Pro better than my NTG2. It's richer. And then I listened to it again and again and again, and I realized, well, yeah, it was richer, but it also lacked the clarity that I was getting with the NTG2. And so in the process of doing this, I started playing around with equalizing the audio, applying a parametric EQ and seeing what I got. And I've read guides and all this and all, that say, do this or do that or apply this or whatever. And I started with that and I started playing with it. And I got an EQ setting that I really liked. To me, it was clear, it was understandable, and it had the warmth that I feel that I have in my voice when I'm talking. You'll have to apologize to thunder. This storm is just absolutely blown up. Or I have to apologize for this thunder. It was perfectly clear, and it was perfectly clear, and then it was boom, thunder. Anyway, and this is where I had this realization that if it sounds good, it is good. Like, it doesn't matter what this site or this audio expert or this guy on the internet or this YouTube video tutorial says for do this and you get good sound. It's what you like, how it sounds to you. And there's always going to be people that are going to criticize it or potentially say that you did it wrong. But if it sounds good to me, it sounds good to me. And I don't really see, like, I can stand behind that and say, it sounds like I sound to me when I'm talking, and it's a sound that I like to listen to. And so I think that's the meat of what I'm getting at here is, and it's funny too, because there's a tangent to this there's so much hype right now in the photography market regarding Sony cameras. And it sometimes feels to me like if you're not shooting Sony, or it feels to me, I should say, that the people that are out there talking are like, if you're not shooting Sony, you're doing it wrong. And like, I can't bring myself to even bother with it. I mean, and it's not necessarily that I have a huge thing against Sony, although I don't particularly like the company, but I've realized a long time ago that I was way more important than the camera. And if the camera, a camera isn't going to, regardless of brand, a camera isn't going to compose the image for me. It's not going to make the settings right for me, and it's not going to convey my artistic vision into an image. And so, yeah, there's little bits and pieces, but this whole you're not doing it right if you're using some other brand thing falls into this whole, like, what I've been talking about, that it doesn't, if you like the images that you produce on your camera, it doesn't matter what other brands are doing. So, yeah, I guess that's sort of the point of this vlog today, is to do what you like. Figure it out, because you can stand behind that, and regardless of what anybody says in your creative endeavors, regardless of what anybody says, you can say, I like this, and therefore it's good. It's good enough that I like it, and therefore I have the confidence to stand behind it. So, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you like this. If you didn't like this, subscribe and hit the thumbs up, the like button if you like this. If you didn't like this, well, you know what to do. For more written content on photography, travel, and in-depth dives into camera gear and reviews and things like that, please visit my website at www.pointsinfocus.com. And if you're interested, you can follow me on Twitter at pointsandfocus. Thanks. Bye.